Welcome to Leaning In, a space for curious conversation and active engagement. I, Tanya Mikvitz,
and I, Jessica Lusty, invite you to lean into life together, exploring what it means to live into transformational practices in our day-to-day lives as we engage in relationships, family dynamics, our conditioning, and the narratives of dominant culture.
How do we actually embody change in our own lives and as a collective?
In this, our opening episode of Season 2 of Leaning In, we ground ourselves in the archetypal aspects of the season that are reflected in the astrology of the moment and how we are experiencing this moving within us and around us. We share some of the narratives and storylines that we will exemplify, unpack, and track in our own journeys over the summer. And we jump right into the work, engaging several of the modalities we introduced in Season 1 to explore an inner narrative that Jessica desires to shift and to offer an opportunity for you to be with what this stirs in you.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, everyone who's tuning in.
This is really exciting because we are now coming to you with our second season of Leaning In. And we sort of began the work with the first season, or kind of laid the groundwork of just where we're coming from and what the different modalities are that have been helpful to both of us, why we feel that doing this kind of work and being in this kind of conversation is important. And now I feel like we can just roll with it. What would you say?
Roll on, sister. Roll on. Yeah.
So,
no, I'm feeling the same way, and I'm excited to begin to weave these threads in a way that is sort of within the context of the place and time that we're in as we move through this summer, to be in sort of real live of the moment engagement with one another, and sort of bringing you all into what we've called our sacred alliance, our therapeutic alliance, and let you weave with us to sort of be able to, through our own journeys and our own engagements and the way we bring these into relationship with one another, exemplify sort of how the work works and how it works in us and through our lives, and kind of help. We'd love to give you a view on what we've been able to witness in one another as we've been in this quality of engagement for such a long period of time. And then to unpack some of it so that you can have a capacity to bring some of these tools more into your life and create opportunities for that, both within the episodes and then maybe inviting into some deeper dive experiences. And then also to track it, right? To be able to refer back and feel forward and be able to track both our own awarenesses of the things that, as we talked about in the first season, the way that activation works in our body, the typical places that we go when we feel pressed by life, or we come up against something that is tapping into a deep wound, or we feel limited by our conditioning, whether it's familial or cultural, so be able to track those things in ourselves. And then also, we want to invite you to presence yourself more with us. You're going to get to know much more about us in this season, and we'd love to get to know more about you. So we want to keep that invitation open to, comment on the post or send us an email. Like, let us know what's resonating for you, how something might have moved you, what you'd like to know or learn more about, because we want this to be responsive to your experience.
Yeah, definitely. It's I hope that we can invite everybody to sort of lean in together, as it were. And yeah, I love what you said about this, like the tracking of the journey of the work. And we're just coming off now, as we're recording, off the back of a Gemini moon. And when we look at the star sign, or Gemini new moon, so we're in the new moon cycle. And if we look at the star signs, we have the first sign, which is Aries, which is really a sort of, it's when you could sort of say that it's as we come into life, and the first thing that we're ruled by is just instinct, and drive. We need to survive as well. And it's like, here I am, I'm coming into the world. And then Taurus, the second sign, is an earth sign. So we have Aries with the fire, the creative fire of being born, you could say. And then we have Taurus, and Taurus comes in and creates, Taurus is about the body and about the senses and about feeling ourselves in the world, and, resourcing ourselves as well, and many more things, so this is very simplified. But I was just thinking about this as we move into Gemini, the twins. Also, of course, with twins, it's like, oh, there's a separation. There's maybe two sides of the story. But as an air sign, Gemini is all about curiosity and communication and intellect. So now it's almost like you come into Gemini, and it's about telling the story about the experience that you've had through your feeling body, through your senses, through your instinct. And what are those stories? So often, what reveals itself from the shadow is that we've been running old stories, and those old stories, when unconscious, have ruled us, run our sort of run our activations, run our triggers, and often placed us in places we don't want to be over and over and over again, right? Because we're not conscious of that. And what my personal experience has been through doing the kind of work we do is that it's almost like you obviously don't rewrite the story that happened, but in your interior, you're kind of rewriting the story. So you're having a different relationship to the story. You can sort of course correct, which means that going forwards, you can create something new, right? You don't have to end up in the same place over and over again if it's not a place you want to be. If it's a great place, leave it alone, obviously. And also what I think goes with this work is that Gemini quality of curiosity. The more curious we can be about our experience, about what's happening in our bodies, what's happening around us. For me, that's like being alive in this world, and being alive in this body, and being alive in this life. That's ultimately why I do any of the practices I do, is because it's like, oh, I can feel more alive, and that is that is what I want. So yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what comes to me with that too is the awareness, the capacity to, when I think about the story and the storyteller, I also, am brought into awareness of the listener, and the way in which we are listening to, and whether or not, we're in that relationship, like you said, of curiosity, where we can attend to the emotional content, the tendernesses, the vulnerabilities, the the aches, the longings, the unmet needs, the sadness through that side of things, so that we can have that. And that's what I feel like I've borne so beautifully. Like I've borne witness to how your journey has so beautifully exemplified this capacity. The more and more that we are holding space for that deep emotion that arises in you, and you hold it for me, and we hold it for other people who we're doing work with, the more that we can hear differently, we can see differently, we can listen differently, to the narrative, to our narrative, and to we're more receptive to, the narratives, and the takes on the story that provide an alternative, like you said, a course correction, a corrective experience with how we're in relationship with it. So I really appreciate that. And I can think of, and that's what we want to do, like through the exemplify, like bring forward some examples of that. And maybe we'll have a chance to do that here today. Yeah. So some of the other tools that we've, Tanya's dropped into a bit of the astrology here, and kind of placing us in this moment. I don't know if folks have been feeling, but I've also really been feeling, that creativity of Gemini in this springtime energy in the Northern Hemisphere. It will be different in terms of what's happening in the ecosystem around you if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. But, I was thinking about today as I was walking, and it's like you described, a couple months ago, we had the spark. We had the first things coming up out of the earth. And then in the last couple of months, we've had the sort of the growing and the greening, and the earth in combination with the rains that have been pouring, and everything is so lush. And now it's like the play is happening, the flowers are opening, and the pollinators are everywhere. And it's like that, I also associate Gemini and the creativity, of the intellect and the imagination. And, so many artists and poets have very strong Gemini markers in their charts. So also, I think a beautiful time to drop into this opportunity to be creative and imaginative with how we are in relationship with our narratives. And I know there's a couple that are there's some storylines that are pretty strong for me that, we've been talking about as we're coming into this. Like, what do we want to work with in the next few months as we're with one another and as we're in this space? So maybe we want to share a little bit about that.
Yes, we can share about that for sure. And it's quite interesting to sort of go back as well and kind of see how certain things have really, certain ideas of who we are maybe have sort of ruled us, and the identities that we've taken on, and then if they don't quite fit. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. I do think that on a lot of levels there are many things that we all really have in common that it sort of comes down to. And I just want to mention this because even in the sort of yogic tradition, the understanding of like how we might have a misunderstanding, and that's what causes the suffering, can come down to sort of very foundational kind of human conditioning of like either I am alone, I'm disconnected, I'm not enough, or I don't do enough, right? So we could go into that tangent with the yogic tradition. We won't do that here, but I also want to sort of just share that as we touch on themes that are very personal to us, it's quite likely that many of you resonate with those, which is why we also want to share. So I think for me, the sort of one of the things that I'm continue to explore, and that I was thinking, I'll bring to share, is this idea that kind of that I'm strong, I'm strong and I don't need anybody, you know, which are and the sort of protective shield around that, but also some sort of like identity that has been, you know, like that sort of thing has been placed on me. It's both been placed of me, and it's both, you know, it's been sort of an amalgamation of things. Um, and a sort of priding myself in my strength and my independence, and possibly masking the part of me that has obviously has needs, you know, and needs connection, and longs and yearns to rely on other people in a greater capacity. So there's, yeah, I feel there's a lot of unpacking there, but that's kind of one of the things, and I'm sure that this is, you know, I'm not alone in this kind of storyline either. How about
Yeah.
you, Jessica? What's some of the themes that you're
Yeah, I really, you know, I just really receive that share there with a lot of care and appreciation for, you know, the way it resonates with me too, you know, and I have so much respect for the way that you continue to explore that and take that up. And I look forward to some of that continuing to unfold here, and for other people here to I think be able to benefit in the way that I have from, you know, from that exploration. And for me, yeah, you know, there's so much that is going on, you know, in the context of my life and the way that I am engaging in what I often describe as, or is coined in my own heart as like my dharmic dream, you know, this like dharma within the yogic tradition, which we have both, you know, been students of in a variety of different ways. For me, has to do with that sort of that way of being in the world that expresses our soul's longing for contribution, you know, to be a participant that you know, exercises what we have the capacity for, you know, some of the teachers that I really admire, like Siana, you know, like to bring our gifts, you know, to bring what it is that our gifts are forward, to be in service to the circumstances that we're in, you know, and there's tenderness around me to even talk about it in those terms, because I think a lot of the storyline that I'm trying to liberate myself more fully from, so that I can be more fully in that, living that in my fullest self, is, you know, is one where there's, you know, who do you think you are, you know, to think you have a contribute, oh, what a goody two shoes, you know, to want to like show up in the world in a way to make, you know, to make a contribution or a change. How virtuous, you know, like I know there's some deep sort of, and I was saying to you, Tanya, as we were exploring this, I remember when two of our teachers, well, Siana, a teacher to both of us, and Ashley were creating a priestess school, and they were putting forward this vision of supporting women to come out of the paradigm of competition and scarcity, and being, you know, like in that, seeing, talk about the storyline, that's a story, right? That there's not enough love, there's not enough popularity, there's not enough attention, there's not enough you know, of whatever it is that we're needing to receive for all of us. And so it's like that we have to compete and we have to compare ourselves to one another, you know. And I so was like, if you can do that, like just in your partnership, I just want to be here to see how you go, how you pursue that, because it's so needed, you know. And I feel there is that in me that comes, I think, from very early on. And then, you know, big cultural pieces around sort of who I am and the ways that I feel aligned, and the modalities that I have resonated with me, and the, what I want to share. There's two sides to the story. There's one, it's woo woo, it's no, nobody wants that, nobody needs that, grow up, get into the intellectual, real world, Jess, come on, like that's important, come on, out of dreamland, or woo woo land. There's that. And then there's, on the opposite side of that, there is the everyone's already doing it and saying it, and like, who are you to to think that you have something to offer that's not already being shared, or space that's being created, where someone else isn't doing it better, or better suited for it. So those are some pieces that I find myself really, really, of course, like you said, I mean, I've been exploring this for a long time, right? And yet, right? And yet, I still will notice how and where it shows up in little reluctances, little avoidances, little ways that I, instead of going more fully towards that which I know I want to move towards, I veer to the side. So I'm dropping that here, folks.
Excellent. And thank you, because I could really, really feel your tenderness, because that's how we feel. We feel vulnerable when something matters so much, right? Because it really matters. And then I just really feel for you in the midst of, hearing these very harsh and critical voices around it, just like, and some of them, I think possibly many of us definitely resonate, like, who do you think you are, and all this, like, I think you just beautifully illustrated to us how it really can, like really feeling with you, this strong desire, this sense of what is possible, and the kind of like the, and bringing gifts forwards, and it's beautiful. And then the reality of having these voices, right? And these ideas that just come at us from inside of us. They've just become part of us so strongly. And this is where, like, breaking free from that is not, it's not something we can really think ourselves out of, right? It has to be a deeper, a more embodied process to really be with those parts of ourselves. We can't just say, oh, don't listen to that voice. Like, it's not quite so simple.
Yeah,
I feel like, yeah.
No, go ahead, please finish your thought.
No, I'm just feeling into your readiness to drop in a little bit now.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to say too, yeah, I mean, and maybe that's what the readiness to drop in is about, is that, there's the, like what you were saying, the way through, the way, and this is like all the ideas about liberation. It's like, I work a lot in the climate justice space. It's like all the solutions are there. It is not about us knowing more information intellectually. It's not about us like exposing ourselves yet again to teachings through another thing. It really is about sort of having these experiences where we can be with, in a skillful, supported way, the emotional charge around, right? And the place, the deep places within, whether they're memories, embodied, memories that have a physical presence and charge within our psyche, in order to liberate ourselves from this. So I'm all in.
Yeah. This, that's one of the things that I so admire about you and appreciate about you is, yeah, all in. So why don't we just do what we normally do, and allow all of you who are listening or watching to stay with us. So let your body settle, Jess, and just kind of let all this kind of Gemini curiosity and creativity and ideas exchange sort of settle a little. And feel your next few breaths. If you're listening, you can also breathe with Jess and I now. Just take a few breaths to settle as we slightly shift the space and the spaciousness and the atmosphere. So Jessica will just move straight into a few incomplete sentences. So in this work, what we do is the person who's guiding begins with a sentence, and the person who's doing the work just completes the sentence with whatever comes up. It just never has to make any kind of sense, really. We're just guided by the curiosity of what arises through this. As I sit here and breathe, what I notice in my body is
massive, like just charge of energy, my belly. I feel my feet very solid on the ground. I feel my belly very activated, and just that kind of heat, that flame of desire, I feel like. And yeah, I feel my arms very energized and I feel strong.
Yeah, I can sense your strength and this steady, bright flame. The message of the charge I'm feeling in my body is
What's coming is the word like inevitability. I also feel like there's a tenderness. There's like there's almost like a little like I can sense my little, tow-headed blonde, like in my little bathing suit that I loved to wear when I was a little girl and wouldn't take off. Like I can feel her sort of almost feel her like hiding behind my eyes and like behind my face, kind of looking, feeling this other feeling that I'm having sitting here as this woman where I am now, and just feeling like that. She's weird. She's a little intimidated by where this other feeling will take her.
Yeah. I can really see her and feel her too. If my young self is hiding behind me and feeling intimidated, would speak, what she would say is,
Whoa. Are you really gonna go there?
What she's afraid of is
being laughed at.
Yeah. How she felt when she was young and was laughed at is
she felt really unseen and misunderstood. Mismet. Unheld.
Yeah. So breathe with her and this strong feeling that's coming up in this memory. What I can offer my little girl who felt so unseen and mismet, what I can offer her now is
I can offer her my hand. And I can sit with her. Just both hands, really. And just see her.
Yeah.
And just give her a look that's like, just really see her and let her see that.
How she feels being seen is.
She feels a little uncomfortable to, it's like she wants this, but it's uncomfortable too. Part of it feels good, but it feels odd. Or yeah, odd's not the right word, but
the discomfort from it being unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Imagine that she's breathing in, you seeing her. And just take a few more breaths like this. Seeing, being seen, breathing together, holding hands. The reassurance I would like to offer my little girl is
your desire and the quality of connection that you want, the way that you want to be with people is beautiful and valuable.
You are
oh, so many things. I see your multiplicity. I see, yeah, you're delightful and deep.
Yeah. Just breathe back into Jess here and now. I am.
Me.
And
Here. Fully here, wanting to be fully here as me among life.
I am really ready for
this quality of connection and being fully me.
we love and adore you as fully you. So let's just gently return. You might want to move your body, breathe. those of you listening, you might want to do the same as you've been bearing witness to Jessica's little journey with her young self that was delightful and deep. That how do you feel now?
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tanya. That was very sweet. Yeah, I feel yeah, I feel ready. I feel it was beautiful. Like I can feel, I really was really, there was something in like that that experience of, feeling this moment and my experience of where I am right now, like in such a solid way. And then right behind it, right? Like it was, the internal experience of that was very clear. And thank you for your guidance. It was really very powerful work. And I can, yeah, I can imagine how it's going to kind of move with me in the next, weeks, months. So thank you.
I just really want to reflect back that it was such a powerful, I could really feel, this, and I got quite a strong visual, and maybe others did too, of like, she's really like just peeking behind you, like behind, inside you and behind you. But also it's what I sort of want to mention is that what's interesting with this work is sometimes, it always takes us unexpected places. And with the conversation and what you shared before, there was like, oh, are the voices, the inner critic going to be really present? And I found it really interesting how actually it was like about looking after your young self and how she had been reacting to those voices. And then that's like the care, that
Yeah.
is needed.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. So as I was talking before about, this idea that we can't just be like, oh, well, don't listen to that thought or to that voice, but in something like this, it'll be interesting to see, and when we next meet, and see if there's any situations where this has come up, and the orientation that you possibly have offered, of that inner like care on the inside when the reactions come up of like the fear or the intimidation or being laughed at, however those, that would be another interesting entry point is, what is the moment that we feel, oh, am I going to be laughed at? How does that even feel in the body, and where does that kind of work take us? Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the laughing at, right, for me, there's so many versions of responses that equate to that,
Mm.
it doesn't have to be a literal laughing at, right? But anything that diminishes or dismisses, that doesn't, yeah, that where something isn't, yeah, there's more there, and we'll get there. I just feel like right now I'd like to just offer a little bit to those of you who are listening, just invite you to take a few breaths and just let your body sort of be with whatever might have been touched upon in you, in listening to the beautiful guidance that Tanya offered me, listening to where that took me. So just wherever you are, this is also an aspect of like being in community of practice with ourselves and with one another, is just being able to, wherever we are, whether you're driving or cooking food while you're listening to this or whatever, just, you don't even have to stop what you're doing, but just also as you're doing it, maybe slow down. You maybe do pause to the extent that you can, and just like notice your breath a little more. Just let your body expand a little more, soften a little more in your belly as you take a few breaths. And then I'd like to invite you to complete a few sentence stems. And you can complete them out loud if that's available to you, or if you're among people, you have headphones on or something, you can just complete them inside your own mind and heart. What I'm feeling in my body right now is I give that feeling my awareness and attention and create just a little more space for it. What I notice is the feelings I felt as I was listening to this piece of work that Tanya offered Jessica are something that I can sense that my little girl or little boy or little being needed to feel like they could be themselves is just take a moment, and if there's a vision or just like a little image of yourself, maybe the age I felt in my vision was like 6, 5 or 6. And just see yourself at that age and offer yourself just that look, the look that says, I see you. I love you. I'm here with you. And then just take another deep breath and just make any note in yourself. Maybe there's a little something you can carry with curiosity, right? See what stories come up for you, what narratives might emerge in the next days, and show some curiosity with them, or offer them some curiosity when they do. And of course, we're here, and you can reach out to us if you want to explore any of those things, either of us, more with some support, guidance. Yeah.
I had to pull a card for all of us, and a tarot card, and the card that came up is one of the major arcana, Temperance. And some of you can see this if you're watching on YouTube, but if you're just listening in, this card is it's a character that looks like an angel, got a white robe with a red triangle at the center. So that's interesting, actually, because the red upwards pointing triangles, that's kind of like the fire that Jessica actually felt in her body as she started the work. But this character is an angel, has a halo and big wings, and then is standing by the water with one foot on the rocks and one foot with the toes in the water, and also is pouring water between 2 cups, but kind of magically, because the water pours across, not straight down. And often this card is really meant to symbolize it comes after death. It comes after you've been on the journey for a good while and kind of moved through, like, you know, the sort of dark night of the soul. You've been through it, and then you come out with temperance, right? And temperance holds a kind of different kind of embodied experience and patience and empathy, I would say, understanding, compassion, right? You know, that you know the people, right, who've been through some suffering, and the way that they can just be with you is different. So that's kind of the temperance card. And what I was also thinking about, you know, like the work you just did so beautifully, Jessica, and really a huge appreciation for your willingness to share so deeply and go there and be vulnerable in kind of like an open space, a sacred space, but an open space. So really honoring that. Is also that, you know, this pouring of the water feels to me like, oh, when we allow ourselves to go to these tender places and sometimes very painful places and challenging places and discomfort, then we kind of we come back and we can it is like magic, like the water is pouring like magic here, you know, because we can transform, we can transmute, and we can shift in extraordinary ways that we might not have thought possible. So that's my read on this card. And I love the tarot as an opportunity, right, to really see in as well and to bring forth what is sometimes hidden from us until we read the cards. So yeah, just wanted to in.
Yeah, and I appreciate the tarot so much. I've been dropping into Tanya's tarot class, and it's been such a rich experience. And yeah, as you said, to reveal what's underneath, but also I find it too, there's so many things that come through that exploration of any question or issue, or just, you know, open-ended, like what's here for me to be in relationship with right now, is that the reading of the cards often helps to validate those things that for whatever reason, you know, we may be feeling, you know, coming forward as an insight or understanding or interpretation, but maybe that for me, that part of myself that's still yet to kind of, you know, claim my own authority. A lot of the cards, right? The Hierophant has been coming up a lot in my readings when I'm, you know, people are reading for me. And it's like that, you know, being in your own authority with even what you feel and what you sense to be, you know, presencing or revealing in your life. So thank you for offering that. And a little plug for Tanya's tarot class. I don't know when you're offering it again, but if you're at all interested, it's a really sweet way to just be in an exploration and community, and you know, with a tool that can bring forward these archetypal energies and archetypal sort of lenses. Yeah.
Yeah, I love being in the tarot fold with the classes. I love that we share, like, because this is also the thing, it's like the community space, the shared space where everybody brings their wisdom to it, and I really love that aspect of it. Yeah. So anything else, Jessica, that you feel like you want to offer into the space before we close for this time?
I'm just really, thank you, Tanya. Deep gratitude. Very excited to be launching into this next summer season of leaning in. And, you know, please communicate with us what's resonating for you. And you will see that on the picture that will sit as the image associated with this episode will be a tarot spread that Tanya and I drew a week or so ago, just feeling into the second season. So if you want to take a peek at that, and might give you a little interpretation, your own interpretation of what this season holds.
Yeah.
Make some predictions, and then you can listen to the whole 6 episodes and see if your predictions are correct.
I love that. And the hierophant, funnily enough, was in that spread. So yeah, and I love that we're moving with summer, and it's in my online community for my yoga practices and yoga sadhana, the Sadhana Collective. We're working with the theme of illumination as we're coming towards summer solstice as well. And well, obviously this is based on Northern Hemisphere, where I think where a lot of us are, let's put it that way. So yeah, that using this time together and using the different tools and the practices really to illuminate our lives more and illuminate the things, you know, that where we might have something, you know, something that doesn't feel quite right, or something that's askew, or, you know, something that's rubbing against us the wrong way. And we can use this time to kind of illuminate, hold space for it, and be with it, and maybe transform and transmute it. So I'm excited to continue the journey.
Me too. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everyone. Sending love and care and prayers for all of our illumination in the summer season. We appreciate your presence in this space. If you sense that friends, family, or peers would benefit from leaning in, please share.
If an episode speaks to you in a particularly meaningful way, or raises questions that you would like to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can connect with us here on Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram at leaning_in_. Leaning In is produced by Tanya Mikwitz and Jessica Lesty. The beautiful music you hear here is provided by Masood Ali Khan. Our sound engineer is Marley Mikwitz Montgomery.